Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of those of you who have joined. We are very pleased to start this new series of inspiration workshops in the context of the Data for Now initiative, and pleased to see so many of you here already. My name is Vibeke Östreich-Nielsen, and I will be moderating this first of the 3 inspiration workshops today. And it's a pleasure to have a lot of very interesting speakers and participants here. Before I hand over to Stefan, who will give some introductory remarks, I have a few housekeeping rules. One is that we would ask you to all please mute yourself if you're not speaking, and similarly also to turn off your videos just to make it less intensive for those who have low bandwidth. I would also like to ask you to stay engaged, to ask questions in the chat. We have limited time for Q&A, and that is also why I will ask you speakers to stick within the time limit that has been given to you. And while it may not be so fun to be interrupted, we know that also when you are presenting yourself, it's difficult to see written comments. So I will come in when time is running out to interrupt you. So please stick to time. But with that, I want to hand over first to our director at Statistics Division, Stefan Schweinfest, for some introductory remark. Over to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Vibeke, and thank you everybody in my team who has been working hard to put this together. You, Vibeke, and Yongi and Fayal and the whole team behind. I see the numbers are going up still. We are already in the high 60s here, so this is great. This is what we do. We connect the global statistical family and a community, and as a director of the UN Statistics Program, I didn't want to miss this opportunity at the beginning of this series of 3 workshops. And it's not just workshops, it's inspiration workshops. So that's a great title. Hopefully it will give you many ideas to say a few words about what we are doing here. The Data for Now initiative was born in the context of the SDG implementation, actually at a very high level. Our Deputy Secretary General in the United Nations was involved, and as the title indicates, it always makes me smile. It was born out of a certain impatience of the users. The users want data and they want them now. So we said, well, we can do that. We are a global community. We know what we are doing. We are creating statistical systems, and we are generating data for now, for the use of politicians who have to take important decisions, and we give them the background information that we can. So better data very often means also more timely data, and that was one of the fundamental themes of this initiative. So through this initiative that has been going on for a while now, we are supporting National Statistical Systems, and I emphasize this S because our family at the national level has become much more complex and complicated. We talk often about an ecosystem where several players have to come together under the leadership of national statistical offices. And what do? We look at innovative data sources. We use advanced technologies that is at our fingertips now. We use modern methods to which we as UNSD also contribute with our methodological work. And most important is strategic partnership across the data producer spectrum. And that will give us the opportunity, or should enable us, this is the design and the vision, to produce high quality, timely, and also disaggregated data, which is very important for decision making and also leave nobody behind, which is part of the theme of our sustainable development agenda at the United Nations. So we at the Statistics Division in New York want to inspire you by showcasing some really practical examples of those countries that have applied these innovative approaches to meet their national objectives. And I think it is very important. Somebody still has their microphone unmuted. If you could help me by not doing that, that would be great. Thanks. I think that's also one important theme of our Data for Now initiative is that we ask first, what are the national priority and the national objectives? So it's really driven not centrally by us, but we ask which are the areas, and we have been able to help countries to help, for instance, in areas that are priorities to them, whether it is education, agriculture, or infrastructure, or whatever it may be, to bridge critical data gaps to produce the data that the decision makers need. One key element is also then that dialogue with users, and this is also one theme of the workshop here, to have an effective dialogue to understand what users really need. And also, uh, I want to thank the countries for being open and being sometimes a little bit experimental with us, and also sharing. I always say, as a global family, we have to share the good and the bad, because sometimes you take an initiative and you think it may help, and then it doesn't produce the result. And if you can share that with other countries, and that's what we are here for, those who have already gone down that road, share their inspirational examples. And many of those were very good and achieved the objectives, and sometimes it didn't work out. And we are very grateful that the countries are working with us very openly. And also, a critical element of our program is using modern IT architecture, and we will specifically dedicate one session also to that. So this is also only possible through the generous support of our donors. So I want to certainly not miss the opportunity to thank the governments of Italy, the United Kingdom, Norway, and Ireland, who have been generously and majorly driving this Data for Now initiative that really allows us to work with countries on the fundamentals of creating a national statistical and data system that is up to the demands of the users. So thank you very much for all of you, to all of you, the donors, my team, all the countries that have already worked hard with us and have produced amazing results, and we will hear about this. And thank you for all of you who have the curiosity to connect this morning and are hopefully inspired by our workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stefan, and thank you also for all of your support and for pushing this initiative in various forums and contexts. And for opening for us to give us this kind of push in the beginning to really get started, and reminding us of what the Data for Now is, and what we're focusing on in the context. As we have been hearing, we will have an impressive lineup today and limited time. So I will not spend a lot of time myself speaking, but Faryal, if maybe you could put up the presentation just so we quickly show everyone what the 3 inspiration workshops are to help us further get started.
Yes, let me put that up.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Vibeke, are you able to view it now?
I am. Thank you so much. So I think this slide is familiar to many of you, and it also reminds us that Data for Now is implemented not only by UNSD, but also by 4 other core partners that are jointly implementing with us. One of them, the UNDP, will also be presenting today, and you'll hear from others in other contexts. So if we move to the next, Faryal. This is the overview of the 3 inspiration workshops. So today, the focus really is on the partnerships with data producers as well as with users, on how we meet decision makers' need, how we address these different aspects. And I think we have quite a few interesting presentations for you today. And as Stefan mentioned, there are 2 more coming up the next 2 Thursdays. I won't spend a lot of time, as I said, but what we really want to highlight to all of you is that please engage, please use this to learn from the experience of others. We know that many of you are highlighting that you want to learn from each other. So feel free to reach out to us or to any of the speakers afterwards and create those connections that may help you also further develop your own work and ideas. And as was already being said, and I know you will further elaborate on this, Faryal, we are increasingly and more seeing that this work needs to happen in collaboration and statistics offices jointly with members of the government who have data or who engage in data can have so much more strength and so much more possibilities to produce data, but also to influence and provide information that is needed for decision making. So yeah, we can't really emphasize this enough because we see how much of a difference it has made in those countries that have implemented and focused on this. But with this, I want to hand over to you, Faryal. I think almost everyone here knows you already, but for those of you who don't, Faryal is now the Data for Now coordinator and will be giving you a bit more detailed updates on these workshops and on our perspective around this particular workshop. Over to you, Faryal.
Thank you so much, Vibeke and everyone for joining again. It's so nice to be speaking to all of you today. So I will briefly talk about not taking too much time on the importance of engaging across the data ecosystem to respond to decision makers' needs and just focusing on the overall data ecosystem and how the different players lie into this framework. So and I'll start with this very seemingly complex image, but in reality, it can be sometimes too. But we see here the entire data ecosystem, and it kind of really nicely places the National Statistical Office here in the center, and then we have the National Statistical System, and then also the other data communities such as the big data, geospatial, and the NSOs, and then we have the ones in yellow who are the users, who are, let's say, the main clients of the data that we produce or the statistics that we produce. And over the course of implementing data for now for the past many years now, we have seen how each of them have demonstrated a very critical role in meeting the demands of data by decision makers and producing in very limited resources. So I cannot emphasize more how the data that is available within these ecosystems is a very valuable source to make the information available to decision makers with a very resource-constrained environment, because the demands are huge and we cannot always produce new data, run new surveys, but capitalize on the existing surveys and censuses that are regulate operations of the national statistical offices, and then combine them in combination with the data that is available. We have seen very, very many examples over the course of this period, including, partnership with the municipality administrations in Jordan, for example, to produce data on measuring open public space. We have seen the same in Morocco and Palestine. In Ghana, we have seen collaboration with the civil society to use and monitor marine litter data. In others, we have seen how satellite imagery data or geospatial imagery data can be used to monitor artificialization in collaboration with national partners, for example, in Tunisia. We will hear many of these examples today, so I'm not going to go in much detail, but I just wanted to start this with giving an overview of the partnerships that are important. A little bit about the Data for Now initiative, as some of you may not be familiar. It was launched, as Stefan mentioned, in 2019 by the Deputy Secretary General, with the emphasis on innovative approaches, not only in terms of sources, techniques, and methods, but also innovative partnerships. And that's demonstrated in the first slide that I just showed. And then the 4 core partners, and mainly the NSOs are partners in countries, but we work together and encourage collaboration and partnership with government agencies, ministries, and departments, but also the private sector, civil society, and the academia. So just to acknowledge our generous donors again, Italy, Norway, the UK, Ireland, and then we also have a regular program for technical cooperation that supports this work. In terms of partnership at the UN system level, we have the core core data for our partners, and then we work together with the resident coordinator's office and the UN country teams, as well as the regional commissions, to make sure that we're not duplicating what is already being done. So either we're complementing the existing efforts or we're collaborating with existing efforts. So in a way, we're also building on the previous and ongoing statistical development efforts. When we work with countries, we map out what has been done, what is being done, and how we can support that goal further. And then I also want to mention that we have a lot of development partners who have been supporting countries and collaborating with us to provide support, such as UN Habitat, Digital Earth Africa, Grid Arendal, and then, of course, the regional commissions, ESQA and ECA. And so we have a lot of partners, which I would love to mention all of them now, but in the interest of time, I cannot mention the long list that we have. Then we have the guiding principle, and what is really core to the initiative is that priorities are always identified by countries. So this is our starting point. So we spend the first, several months just working with not only the NSOs, but together with NSOs and different government partners to identify what are your priorities in terms of with link to your national development plans and goals. And from then we understand what are your key priority data needs and how we can fill these data needs with the principles, the work approach principles and data principles and outcome principles that we have on the slide here. In terms of the implementation process, as I mentioned, we'd start with identifying the area, the data gaps and needs, how we can fill it using innovative approaches, and then, which is the crux of it all, how do we bring it to the decision makers in engaging formats. And throughout this process, we keep the government partners and the users involved so that we have the key players who are involved or who own the data that can be used, as well as the users to understand what they need in order to respond to them in the most effective manner. We also have the cross-cutting theme, which have evolved from the work that we have supported through to the countries over the course of this period, which is on support on integration and statistical and geoinformation. And we have partnered up with our geospatial team within our division to make that happen, as well as the expert group on the integration of statistical and geospatial information that supports this work globally. Then modernizing the IT architecture, which we have supported in many countries, including Tunisia, Vietnam, Senegal, Sierra Leone, amongst many others, where we're upgrading or enhancing the IT infrastructure so that it can efficiently manage and analyze data sources, because now we're not only talking about DTA files, or we're not talking about SPSS files, we're talking about shape files, which is the used for satellite data or other formats. So how can we bring them together? For that, we need a structure that can enable the different data sources. Then strengthening the capacity of national staff for increased engagement with users, development of the use of citizen data, and then administrative data, the data that has evolved from these discussions with countries where they found it useful as well. Of course, then the academia collaboration is where this is a way to also sustain the skill set within country, where there's a flow of knowledge coming from the universities to the NSO, and also NSO kind of explicitly sharing the needs so that there could be a skill match, as well as providing support to the national goals. Then also making data openly available. What are the considerations? What are the formats that need to be used in order to make it available? Should it be in PDF? It's small considerations such as PDF document or Word document. So we've also have plans in February to have a webinar on how to make this data openly available. And then strengthening capacity on data visualization and communication. We had a number of sessions that many of you attended in the last quarter of 2024, where we provided a training on the different elements that are required for data visualization, be it through geospatial tools, through the IT softwares that are available or openly available, and how the collaboration across statisticians, policymakers, communication experts, IT experts, and geospatial experts is really critical for a very effective data visualization. So I'm going to stop right here so that I could hear more from all of you who are speaking at the session today as we move further. So thank you, and back to you, Vibeke.
Thanks so much, Faryal, for setting the scene even further and for sharing more specifically what we have been and what we are supporting in the Data for Now initiative. With this, I want to hand over to our first speaker, which is Sarah Omache from the Kenya Bureau of National Statistics. She will be speaking about how to foster collaboration across the data ecosystem to achieve national development objectives. Over to you, Sarah.
Greetings, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Let me try
yes,
to
we
share
can.
my screen. I hope you can see my screen too.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes,
Sarah, but we can not see you.
Let me try to put up my face. I tried earlier. I don't know why the camera is not working. I can see a screen, but I can't see myself from my end.
It looks like you may have to enable you may have a button on top to enable your camera, but if it takes you a lot of time, we can also move ahead without.
Okay. I cannot see it, but with your permission, I can move forward.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thanks for understanding. So I go straight to my presentation. I introduced myself earlier. My name is Sarah Omache. I work for Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Specifically, my functions are the coordination of the National Statistical System, where we deal with the programs, including the collaborations that you're talking about today. So I hope you can still hear me.
You can still, but I think you need to put the presentation back in presentation mode. Yes, perfect.
That's okay? Okay. So I'm going to talk about, generally, I'd start by saying that it's a collective role to produce statistics. And while we are producing statistics, we are focused on the user needs. And of course, we cannot identify their needs without talking to them. Mostly, the government is our key user. And it uses the information that we provide to them for decisions and for monitoring and evaluation of programs, both at national and devolved levels. I believe this applies also to all the other countries. So we meet these needs by collecting or acquiring data from providers and suppliers, who we also talk to at all stages in the data value chain or our data processes. And as we note, the needs are very varied, and it all depends on the synergies that we have among the producers, the suppliers, the providers, and the users of statistics to ensure that this data is available. And goes without saying that we also need to partner or to talk to other stakeholders, such as the academia and researchers, as well as the development partners who mostly come on board to provide technical support or financial support in producing these statistics. So in Kenya, this is how the data ecosystem looks like. The data ecosystem is the widest space on which data sits. And within it is the National Statistical System, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and directorates, which are basically the operational areas or the sectors or the areas on which we are producing statistics, the subject areas on which we are producing statistics. So the ecosystem consists of both the players and the systems and the frameworks within the government and also outside the government that are supporting the data processes and also the use of the data, the entire cycle, the entire data value chain. So we talk of the NSS, which is the government producers, ministries, departments, agencies, and the devolved governments. We also talk of other stakeholders, which include, of course, the data users, reason why we exist, development partners, the media, academia, the non-state actors, who are the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, and community-based organizations, plus in some cases, religious organizations. And then there's the general public. So as I mentioned earlier, all these interested parties, the enablers and structures make up our data ecosystem. Because some of the players might not be people, but they're also structures. They're also, we are even talking of AI, all those belong to and they have great impact in the data ecosystem. There is debate and implementation is already ongoing in many countries, just as in Kenya, that the stewarding of the national data ecosystem is an emerging role that is very important for the National Statistical System, a role that we cannot avoid, because if we do not steward all the players of the ecosystem, it is going to affect how we optimize the opportunities that we have in other data sources that are not in the official context. So what mechanisms do we use? I'm giving the Kenya experiences. We consult widely with all the stakeholders that have been mentioned in development and implementation of the Kenya strategy for development of statistics. That is the overarching strategy for statistics within the country that guides all players in ensuring that there is capacity of statistics and there is interaction within the system. Engagements of users at various levels of the data value chain. This is to ensure that we are working within their needs and we are getting feedback on the kind of statistics we produce if it meets their requirements. They are also communicating the emerging needs and how we have to tailor our statistics to meet their needs. We have various committees at sector level and also the technical working committees for most of the thematic areas, and who have various interactions, some on monthly basis, some on quarterly basis, annual or semi-annual basis. We have memorandum of understandings or contracts with various institutions on activities that we expected to conduct or programs that we expected to implement so that we are working within a particular context or a scope. We have stakeholder forums within the country, and sometimes we collaborate with other countries for data producers, users, providers. We have hackathons, which are mostly on the capacity building and learning platform, mostly for students, to ensure that they use innovative ways to produce statistics that fill data gaps. We have celebrations for statistics, and we also have conferences that keep on the discussions, keep the collaborations running. Other mechanisms are important, the programs we have with partners to foster technical and financial support for statistics. To mention a few examples is the World Bank Program for Results, which is a 5-year funding project that will ensure that there is sufficient support, implementation of activities as planned within our strategic plan and within the Kenya strategy for development of statistics. We've been receiving support from the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development And one of the programs is a South-to-South learning program with other countries. That is with Ghana and with Colombia on statistics and inclusive data. We have support from Paris 21, mostly on NSTS, and upcoming support on AI. We have support from the UN Women in the UN Women Count program, which is in support for gender statistics and other related programs. Importantly, we also have support from the UNSD on various programs, training on user engagement and development of a user engagement strategy. We've carried out these activities over the last few months, I think over about 12 months ago. We also partnered, they have supported us on training on data storytelling and visualization. And we've started work on doing statistical capacity assessment for the National Statistics Office and the wider NSS, and many other partner programs. These collaborations are very important because, of course, the support from government has been going down, the budgetary support for government. So the programs with partners are very important because they keep our processes running to ensure that we produce statistics that continually meet the needs of users. Other mechanisms include the peer learning initiatives with other NSOs. Just to mention a few, Statistics Sweden, Office of the National Statistics Office of the UK, the Ghana Statistics Service, and Colombia. So we partner and exchange technical support. We have learning platforms, physical and online, to ensure that we exchange best practices. So that's sort of partnership with other NSOs. We have mentorship programs, collaborating with other universities to have internships, the hackathons that stimulate ideas of innovative ways of filling data gaps, and also trainings and developing use cases for data. So we asked the question if the collaborations have led to increased production and use of data to respond to the national needs. Yes, to a great extent. Production of statistics on the economy and society. Mostly we present that information in a publication that is annual. It's called the Economic Survey. It has 17 chapters on various sectors of the economy and the society. So we have sustained production of this for over 35 years. So including during COVID-19 pandemic. So with this partner support, with collaborations, with these working forums, we've been able to sustain production of these reports on an annual basis. Through the collaborations, we have identified gaps, especially in the MDAs, in terms of statistical capacity, people working on data. And we've also implemented some of the programs to ensure that these statisticians or the data handlers within the MDAs have at least the basic skills for statistics. And this has been majorly support from Statistics Sweden, a tailor-made course on basic statistics, which we take them through and make them more have more skills on capturing of data. This has enhanced the quality of administrative data over time. The number of SDG indicators on which we report have gone up from 168 indicators in 2016 up to 162 in 2024. This particularly was boosted by citizen-generated data and other innovative approaches of filling some of these gaps that were not being reported on in the past couple of years. In the census, we had interesting data that was being collected due to collaborations and new ideas that were brought on board. We had the first collection of data on intersex and stateless populations. And these two population sets are benefiting from the decisions that are made based on the census data sets. And there's a bill in Parliament that is going to ensure that the rights of the intersex are put within the law and their needs are catered for. Because the number was quite significant during the census. And for the stateless population, they were given citizenship of Kenya because of that, the number that came out from the population census. For the devolved governments, the important collaboration has led to them producing, having statistics units. Then the statistics units enable them to produce abstracts, that is continuous production of data on annual basis that will inform their decisions. There's an increase in the data-driven debates in the social and political fronts. Politicians are quoting data, making decisions and discourse.
Sarah, just very quickly, if you can, I think you have a really, really interesting presentation, but if you can cut it short and maybe round up in the next minute, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, let me try to move faster. There is increase in data-driven debates. There's also collaboration between the government and private sector and civil society, which has led to use of CGD, and hopefully we are going to use mobile data too. So we've had a number of challenges. The first one being a budgetary allocation that is going down, both from government and from other partners. So resource mobilization and optimization, hopefully we'll solve that. There are differences in institutional frameworks. So there's need to harmonize and have joint work programs. There's also data sharing complexities due to the differences in law. So sharing will be done in adherence to relevant laws and regulations. Then the data needs landscape are fast changing, so we have to keep up by looking at the new methodologies and the new technologies to ensure we meet user needs. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that the user of statistics is the reason why we exist as NSOs. So we need to continuously work with them. Then production of statistics that meets their needs calls for collaborations and use of the synergy to maximize the value of data so that it meets their needs. It's also inevitable for all the NSOs to upgrade their role and talk to other stakeholders to ensure that there is stewardship within the wider ecosystem. And notably, the important collaborations that are emerging that are of value are collaborations with the private sector and with the civil society. This will ensure that we fill data gaps that are existing in official statistics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and to everyone in KNBS who's really driving this together and pushing a lot of the collaboration with different partners. And thanks for sharing these experiences with all of us. I will move to our next speakers, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, we have other speakers than many of you have seen in the program. We're very pleased that colleagues from Morocco were able to step in on short notice, and I would like to hand over to Vidad Sadouni from the High Commission of Planning in Morocco and Fatima Kabouben from MATNUHPV. And I'm sure the person who presenting here will also explain which ministry this is. So over to you, Vidad and Fatima.
Thank you so much, Vibeke. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to colleagues from Kenya. Let me just share my screen. Here we go. No, this one. Excuse me, 1 minute, please. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your opening remarks and for the presentation of Kenya. I will present with my colleague from the Urban Development Department, Fatima. The collaboration.
Sorry for the interruption, my dear. Please put your presentation on presentation mode. It's a bit down there. We can't see clearly.
Is
on presentation mode, so see the entire screen. Yeah.
Is it
I
not
see
on
she's pressed the
presentation mode?
button, so it's maybe coming. because I see that you have chosen it, but it's not coming up. Could it be that you have two screens and it has selected the wrong screen with that? Because we see the non-presentation version.
I don't know what's happening because I'm using the full screen option.
Do you have two screens?
No, I have only one now.
Okay.
Let me try now.
No, maybe you can try again. I saw you click the button at the bottom there, but try again maybe. Otherwise, I suggest you go ahead and in the meantime, we can see if one of us can present for you, but maybe start and then we can take over if not.
Okay, I'm really sorry for this.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we will be presenting the collaboration between HCP and the Ministry of Urban Planning and Housing to produce data to inform city planning in Morocco. Within the project of Data for Now, we are working on 3 indicators of SDG 11. One of them is the proportion of population that has convenient access to public transport with the Ministry of Interior, and 2 others with the Ministry of Urban Planning, which are the ratio of land consumption rate to population growth rate, and the average share of the built-up area of cities that is open space for public use. Before choosing those indicators, we have started a cooperation initiation process. We have sent official letters to different departments. We have conducted a first workshop facilitated by UNSD, gathering all potential partners. And we have started a series of bilateral meetings facilitated by a local coordinator and HCP to agree on priority indicators to work on and to start the work on them. Before starting this process, we have done an internal work in HCP by identifying all the missing SDG indicators and then prioritizing them depending on public policies orientations, then starting this consultation framework and communication process with the other departments. I will give, yes. I will just give the floor to my colleague Fatima from the Urban Development Department to proceed with the context within their department and the approach, the methodology followed in the project. Fatima, here's to you.
Fatima, you may need to unmute, and we have someone else who has.
Fatima? Samira, can you check please if Fatima has any technical problems?
Yeah, I'm calling her now.
I'm wondering, Vibeke, whether we should continue in the interest of time with Vidal.
You think if Vidal, can you cover until Fatima has solved her mic issues? Would you be comfortable with that, or would you like us to move to another speaker and come back to you?
I don't know. Maybe we can move to another speaker because, yeah, maybe that will be better to check with the meanwhile.
Excuse me, Fatima can present now? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please unmute yourself, Fatima.
Hello?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to share with you our experience regarding a partnership for Data for Now projects. And I will focus on the methodological approach adopted by the ICP and the Ministry for the implementation of Data for Now project in Morocco. First, I will briefly present our ministry mission that revolve around vision and intervention aimed for integrated and sustainable development of territories, mainly provide the guidelines of public policy for territorial planning and development, guide and reorient urban policy, anchoring public policies, and strengthening its human resources skills in territories. So, in front of growing urbanization and increasing pressure on urban areas, the urban sprawl is the major challenge to promote equitable and sustainable urbanization. Then the ministry is working to understand and measure urban expansion and aims to align with Sustainable Development Goal 11. In this perspective, we adhere to the HCP's invitation to integrate the implementation of the Data for Now project and the part related to the calculation of the indicator 1131 and 1171. Next with that. The methodological approach adopted is structured around 3 levels of actions. At top management level, composed of the HCP as a focal point, the ministry and the local coordinator of the international partner. Its mission is to manage the project, developing the working plan, the commitment of each partner, and the implementation methodology, which has decided that the calculation will be carried out by the ministry teams in the territories. It also involves developing the national sample of cities to be the subject of calculation, finally validation and publication of the result. The second one is a monitoring committee at our ministry level, working as a link ensuring coordination between, no, not to this one, not yet. The second level of action is a monitoring committee at our ministry level, working as a link, ensuring coordination between the national committee's decision and their implementation at the territorial level. The work to inform and initiate the territorial ministry's representation to Data for Now projects, provide needed data, coordinate and the deployment of the training session, ensure communication and monitoring the calculation process on territories. The third one is the key and executive level consists on the 12 working groups tasking with calculating the indicator for the cities within their territorial jurisdiction. They have benefited from training and expertise to perform the calculation and have received support and technical assistance from the Unihabitat expert during the calculation process, and they have delivered their results. The next with that. Here some screens from the group achievements at the territorial level and the national consolidation. We are proud to have relevant results to decision making to manage, revise, and custom urban policy. There is important to underline that although ministries' representation at the territorial level are notified and initiated in the calculation of sustainable indicator, and we highlight the added value in this experience by the involvement of skills from the territories for the success of this project. Next. About challenges faced, we are constrained to use coarse population data. So the UniHabitat expert recommended fine grid population data. Also, we used open source data to overcome data gaps. And as a perspective, soon we will recalculate the indicator using fine-grained population grid from the new census data and other real data to accurate measurements of the indicator. As a recommendation, we propose to continue and strengthen the partnership with the HCP for more exchange of data and expertise and mobilizing human resources at the territorial level to fostering the collective intelligence. Finally, we also explore other international partnership prospects to calculate new indicators. Thank you very much. Up to you with that.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I will continue with some other challenges that are mainly related to the project management process. Team dynamics and first-time collaboration. We all know that the learning curve associated with teams working for the first time together might differ and might take different patterns all over the process. Balancing roles, and here I mean the role, the balance between the role of HCP as a project owner and track leader, and the partners and their resources and availabilities through the process. Also the project timing and concurrent census, because we were conducting our national census last September, and during the whole year before, we were very, our teams, especially GIS team, were very busy with the census preparation work, and this has affected the advancement of the project of Data for Now. So as a conclusion, the takeaways in this collaboration are commitments, a common dedication to shared goals and consistent efforts from all partners. And here I don't forget to thank our partner, the Department of Urban Planning and Housing, for their collaboration and efforts through the process of calculating the two indicators. The communication, to maintain open and effective channels for information sharing and feedback, and to adjust the adaptability, approach challenges with a constructive and solution-oriented mindset, and employ alternative methodologies and flexible measures to overcome data and structural challenges, as I mentioned. Trust and positivity, to build mutual trust with both national and international partners, fostering a positive and solution-oriented working environments. And thank you so much. I mean to thank our national partners and also the UNSD for their continuous support, and all the donors for their support and collaboration. Thank you so much.
Thank you also a lot to you, Widad and Fatima, for sharing your experiences with us. And I think this is also a great example where you present together on the work that you've been doing together. This is really the way to go, I believe, in so many contexts where we have data in different contexts. We have different kinds of experiences. By coming together, we benefit more. And we're able to achieve more. So thanks so much to both of you for sharing. For those of you who are following the agenda, we had set up now that we would have a quick Q&A, but because we are running a bit behind, I would just ask everyone who has questions to put them in the chat, and we'll gather them for the end, where we will open up for any questions and answers. So please use the chat if you have questions of any kind. And in the meantime, I want to hand over to our next speaker, Lady Ventura Delba from the Office of National Statistics of the Dominican Republic. Over to you, lady.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me share in the presentation. Yes. Can you confirm that?
It is in progress, yes.
Yeah.
And I can see it full screen. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So good morning, and my name is Lady Ventura. I work as a coordinator of the Environmental Statistics Department of the National Statistics Office in the Dominican Republic. On this occasion, I want to continue the objective of raising awareness of the importance of legal frameworks for effective collaboration in data exchange for the production of statistics through the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the National Statistics Office and the Center of Emergency Operations, which is the one who leads emergency issues in terms of risk management in our country. Additionally, you will be able to learn about the mechanisms used to create interinstitutional ties, the dynamics of meetings held with the institutions, the data request methodology that we apply, and how we manage the calculate indicator 1311 of the SDG on death, shelter, and displacement due to disaster. And finally, I will show you where the environmental statistics repository is located. So starting with disaster risk statistics, a characterization of statistical operations related to events and disaster was carried out. With this basis, in 2023, we host the DA13 project, where we evaluate the quality of administrative records through meetings in some of the identified institutions, where we decide to work on the administrative data derived from the damage assessment and needs analyzed for, and the National Integrated Information System that manage the Emergency Operations Center and Civil Defense. Through several meetings and consultations, a workshop was held where the SDG indicator 1311 was calculated on the number of samples and displaced people due to disaster. As you can see, these are some of the sessions carried out on the training of institutions of the National Statistical System and on administrative records, and a technical workshop for the preparation of the Memorandum of Understanding, which allowed the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between these institutions, thus opening a path for the exchange of data in a more effective way. Also, within the framework of this project, another result and impact to highlight was the calculation of the SDG 1311 indicator through the closing technical workshop carried out in our facilities. And below, I show the process we follow for this calculation. Based on the request for information from the producing institution, using a specific template that we had designed, for which we apply a treatment to the data to review variables, coherence, cleaning, and control of quality, to later calculate the indicator and publish on the portal web of the National Statistical Office, so that is accessible to the public. Now, some benefits must be recognized, such as the strengthening of the interinstitutional relationship and access to technical experience and data for statistical production, as well as some challenges based on the government ecosystem in data production. In data production issues on disaster risk statistics, which is not very clear in our country. And to finish, I leave you with this screen of the environmental data repository on the NSO portal web, where the calculated indicator is hosted, as well as the environmental statistics that we produce. And I would like to recommend that in terms of risk management, data is an essential work hand in hand with the producing institutions that can provide information to respond to global and national frameworks. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Lady, for sharing the experiences from Dominican Republic, and it's another great example of collaboration across agencies. We also have a video from your chief statistician that we want to run as an addition, sharing experiences from Dominican Republic. So thanks again for your intervention and highlighting some of these points. Samira, could you help us with running the video?
I can do it.
Okay, thank you, Martina. While we're waiting for it to be set up, I think what you will see in the video is focus on legal frameworks and formalizing agreements between statistics offices and administrative data holders and other stakeholders and partners in the data ecosystem. And we want to run the video because Miosotis, who is the chief statistician of Dominican Republic, is really explaining it well and giving a great introduction to the opportunities and challenges that Dominican Republic is facing. If we are facing problems, though, Martina, I think in the interest of time, we can also put it in the chat so that others can see it there and we can add it to the website.
I see that it's loading.
Okay.
But I think
Right.
you cannot see it, right?
I can't see it, no.
Let me try this way. Can you see it now?
Seems like something is coming. Yes, perfect.
Okay, let me know if you are able to see it. and I can start the video.
I see it, but let's hear if the sound is okay too.
Okay.
No sound, so you will need to fix the sound.
Okay, I will share it in the chat.
Okay, and maybe if we have time at the end, we will come back to it. But I really encourage everyone to have a look at the video, particularly if you're interested in discussions around legal frameworks and formalizing agreements. With this, then, Martina, you are next on our program. And for those of you who don't know Martina, she's working with us at the Statistics Division. Her full name is Martina de Saverio. And she has been working a lot with me on the collaborative on administrative data, and will be sharing some of the materials that we have available also in the context of formalizing agreement or working together across agencies. So over to you, Martina.
Thank you so much, Vibeke. The presentation is coming. Let me know when you can see it. Can you see it now?
It's coming. So now I see
It
it,
seems
yes.
that also my computer is quite slow this morning. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the collaborative on administrative data and the tools and resources available in this framework. So first of all, I want to say something about the collaborative. The collaborative is an initiative where multiple stakeholders representing different sectors come together to work on a common goal. Our common goal is to strengthen the capacity of countries to use the administrative data sources for statistical purposes. The collaborative focus on simple and ready to implement solutions. So it's very practical and address challenges identified by its members at different levels of development and across different sectors. It also raise awareness about the benefits of using administrative data for more quality and timely data. And it's a platform for collaboration and sharing on resources, tools, and best practices. This is our current setup. We are divided in 3 task teams. The first one focused on institutional framework, coordination, and partnership. In particular, is now focused on advocacy and outreach. Task team 2 focuses on data management and standardization, and in particular now it's working on metadata guidance. Task team 3 is more focused on interoperability related to information technology and data linking. But we also have cross-cutting work, including some webinars, expert clinics, experience exchanges, and e-learnings. Given the collaborative nature of the platform, the CAD, one of the key resources available in this framework is a collection of real-world case studies shared by countries and organizations. This is our inventory of resources. You have easy access to a series of material on the use of administrative data. And these are you have the possibility to browse different thematic groups. You can browse by country, and you can find a recommendation and examples that can inspire in your work. Here you have the link to know more. As I said before, one of the objectives of the CAD is also to provide materials and tools that are not already available for the work with administrative data. So in this framework, the CAD has developed several tools. Some of these cover different thematic areas, like, for instance, the legal framework, formal agreements, or data quality. And the CAD is currently working on new tools. All these tools have been developed in the context of the task teams, and the task team members have been involved in the development. One of the examples of one of these tools is the Admin Data Quality Assessment Toolkit. This toolkit was born from the need for practical guidance and tools to assess the quality of the administrative data. This need has been expressed by several CAD members and also by several countries in Southern and East Africa. That's why also UN Women was involved in the project with the UN Women Count project. The toolkit includes several elements. There is a background document on data source mapping and a background document on data quality, and which also includes guidance on how to assess the quality of administrative data. And there are also 2 questionnaires. One is the mapping questionnaire to map administrative data sources. So you have in the columns the data sources, and in the rows you have a series of questions. So you just need to respond to the questions. And the quality assessment questionnaire is a questionnaire where you can select from a drop-down menu the level of compliance regarding some of the dimensions of quality. This tool is now under development based on feedback received by countries, and also based on the new insight from the group working on the National Quality Assurance Framework. So this is the old version, and the new version will be available soon. Another example of tools available is the MYU guided template. This helps to improve coordination and cooperation with the National Statistical System, and increase the access to administrative data sources. This tool is very practical and contains several examples from the real world, contains suggestions, and you can easily adapt the content to your context, because these are not prescription but only suggestions. It's very general and includes different domains, and consider different elements that the country should keep in mind when they start formalizing agreements with the members of the National Statistical System. Now let's take a closer look at some of the tools that the CAD is developing now. So task team 1 is working on an advocacy toolkit filled with strategies and country example and materials from the CAD members, and it helps to advocate for the use of administrative data. Task team 2 is focused on a metadata guidance, which will provide guidance on how to use, implement, compile metadata, and how to engage with the members of the National Statistical System around metadata. Task team 3 is working together with UN Women on a toolkit for data linkage, and we are now launching a new e-learning course on the use of administrative data for statistics production. Here you have an overview of the content of the learning course. You can see that the topics range from the basics on administrative data to data quality, metadata and feedback loop, data sharing considerations, and data privacy and security. Next week, we will run.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Next week, we will run the facilitated e-learning course, and participants will have access to a Moodle platform and will attend webinars. It will take maximum 20 hours, and the deadline for nomination is today. So if you want to be involved, please reach out to your chief statisticians. And if you want to join the collaborative, you just need to express your interest to me, sending me an email. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martina, for sharing all of these materials. And we hope to have more members in the CAD. We're open to everyone who wants to join. I'll move on to our next speaker, which is Camilo Mendez from the Statistics Office in Colombia. And we're looking forward to hearing more from you and all the work that you're doing when it comes to collaboration with partners, also when it comes to the financial side of things.
Thank you very much, Viveke, and good morning, good afternoon to all. I would like perhaps if someone can help me confirming that the slides are already showing.
Yes, I see them well, and I see you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. So thanks for the opportunity to speak and share a little bit on how from Colombia we're positioning data and statistics within our data ecosystem, and some of the strategies that we're currently using to be more effective in the way that we engage and build our partnerships in Colombia. So in the presentation, we'll be able to really focus on what's the efforts on high-level advocacy for resource mobilization and really pulling resources from various ministries and other institutions to address the emerging data needs. So something that it's really important, it's to understand that within the Colombian case, besides being the official National Statistical Office, we are the heads of the National Statistical System, in which we are called upon to provide guidelines in all the technical matters and are in constant contact with all the institutions from a technical perspective. But one of the things in which we are striving to do more is to really have a political engagement. So not just technical follow-ups on everything that's standards, classifications, and really technical stuff, but really to give the message to the decision makers and the policy makers. Something that really resonated me with the introduction that Farial introduced was that this vision of the wider data ecosystem continues to enlarge. So from Colombia, we have currently around more than 6,000 institutions which are part of that national statistical system, which include not only public institutions like line ministries, private ones, civil society organizations, the UN development system with its 23 agencies in Colombia, as well as the different local organizations from the departments to the municipalities. In this, what we have been seeing, it's really an ever-growing demand for more granular data, more relevant data for decision making. And in here, we have been doing something, and it's really developing a narrative and this whole idea of what's collaborating and what's building partnerships with the National Statistical Office for Data and Statistics. And we have been seeing that a real interest in really establishing long-lasting partnerships with them rather than really project-type intervention. And for this, managing and coordinating the National Statistical System is becoming quite extensive because as of now, we have currently more than 30 different instances of governance in which we are coordinating with the different partners, not bilaterally with each one of them, but really bringing, and as the UN does in a way, creating the table, allowing everyone to join and really advance in subject matters such as climate, biodiversity, migration, gender, violence against women. So this really allows us to really have a holistic and comprehensive approach when addressing the different partnerships. One of the things that we have also been doing is understanding that rather than trying to build a partnership from zero, it's important that we have a very open portfolio of what we can offer. So DANE, besides being the coordinator, cannot be the police of the National Statistical System, but really we are a trusted partner in which we always strive to create and develop capacity building. And that's when the importance comes of these different instances of governance of the data ecosystem, which allows us to really map the demand, because it's not only a demand of new statistics, but it's a demand of capabilities. And it's more cost effective to really create this capacity than assuming these more responsibilities from our end at DAN. Also, something that I mentioned in the beginning, it's really how can we move forward from this technical approach to having a more constant political engagement with our partners in Colombia. So in here, something that I'd also like to cover, it's really understanding that we as National Statistical Offices are in a very well-positioned scenario in which, from the fundamental principles of official statistics, there's something that calls and mandates us in a way to work with each other, to learn from each other. And this is something that we have been constantly doing from Colombia in the different networks that we have, either in the regional scope within the Statistical Conference of the Americas, but also with other partners, and really pushing forward to this idea of having more South-South cooperation and really bringing more partners on this. So in this case, we are always working with the Colombian Presidential Agency of Cooperation, which are now seeing DANE as a partner to work with countries in Africa and in Latin America to share our experiences on this. So also something that has been quite important to address this idea of moving from the technical to the political scoping of things. It's really supporting ourselves in the whole this idea of this international statistical system and the international data community, in which sometimes other institutions tend to think that it's some of DANE's prerogative to change a classification, to request more data, but we have been really integrating this whole role of this international statistical system in the different activities that the National Statistical Office DANE does all the time. On the third point, in moving up the conversation from the technical to the political, it's really how are we harnessing this power of data, and really how are we using the different statistical operations that we have to fulfill developmental agendas and monitoring up their implementation from the global, the national, and the local perspectives, which it's something that it's essential when we come to the different line ministers and say, we need to do this, we have to work on this. And how have we been putting all these ideas into action? And it's that we as DANE are currently piloting a new approach, and we have been designing a new statistical operation costing model, which I'm going to show you a little bit more. And what it's very important is that this innovation is not being done out of the blue in a way. We have to really reference here a milestone for us, and it's our new statistical law, which is the 2335 of October 2023, in which I'm referencing here on the slides 4 of the main paragraphs that I want to reference here. The first one, regarding the use of official statistics, really conveys the importance of using official statistics for policy and decision making. The second one, on finally having this idea of the periodicity of the census, not only of the housing and population census, but all the censal cycle in a way. And two additions in this new statistical law are P52 and P53, which really establishes the possibility of DANE of providing statistical processing service and of data collection services. Because without this legal framework, we wouldn't be able to have such a proactive vision of engaging with different partners. So also, and really important, it's really building on our technical frameworks, in which the basis for the development of the costing system is truly the GSBPM model. So what we have been doing so far, it's identifying the different variables that we want to map, that we want to cost, which allows us to really have a more effective coordination with the different partners. In the slide, you'll be able to see some of the like the main ones that we start assessing, from the geographical scope, the collection timeline, the unit of observation, the collection method, how much people would we need, what's the collection technique, how are we devising the collection instrument, and the average performance and transportation. I want to focus a little bit here in the collection instrument, because sometimes some of the project-based partnerships that we have been building really focus on this variable of the collection instrument. So this system would actually enable us to say to a partner, how much does it cost to really include all the 50 questions that you want to map in a constant survey that we have, so they realize how expensive is having good quality data. Some of the other variables that for the Colombian perspectives are quite important. The first one is the different per diems and the operational tickets. As you perhaps might be aware, Colombia, it's quite an extensive territory, which has really some difficulties in accessing some of the territory. So it's really not a minor issue to assess how costly is it to get to some of the rural areas that we have. So the other 4 variables that we have included here are the supplies requirements, the technological requirements, and the administrative infrastructure that would be needed in order to carry a new statistical operation. And finally, the last costing variable that we are including within the system is the harnessing of administrative records. So thank you very much for providing this context before from UNSD side, because what we are using with this variable, it's truly mentioning that we have to move on from this perspective of having different surveys for everything that we want to do for every partnership, but really relying on the power of administrative records to being able to reduce the costs and really have a more efficient national statistical system. So as you can see, this is an example of what actually, how does the system work like. So it really enables us to engage with our different partners and really saying, so if you want to ask or have a research in informality, in women empowerment of something, we are able to pilot these things and really have a very time effective response. If you want to do this, this is how much would it cost to you, and really providing the different benefits that are associated with this. So just moving forward, I want to really focus on here that like one of the main lessons that we've learned in all this is that we are usually told and usually mentioned that it's important for us to measure what we treasure, but in a way, we also have to treasure what we are measuring, and really saying that even if data it's a public good, having good quality data comes at a cost. So this tool that I've just shared with you, and that I would be happy to share more with you, it's that this comes at a cost, and it's really an investment that has to be made. But we are really shifting toward this different and new business model that really allows us, because sometimes what happened is that when building partnerships, we usually took a lot of time consulting internally, which were the different requirements that we needed to have for a new survey, for working with a new minister. So this really pushed the different resources from the human resources from the organization a bit stretched. So also, and there's something that has always been very important for us, it's to really have present this idea that we do not have to reinvent the wheel, and to really rely on the different partners, in which we have not only find that bilateral conversations are always something that helps, but really relying both on the United Nations Statistical Division and in ECLAC's Statistical Division to really assess who is a partner that can help with us on this. So a recent experience that we also had in Colombia for this was, of course, the UN World Data Forum, in which we required to build different partnerships with ministers to leverage funding, but also to raise awareness of what's data and why was it important to have this event in Colombia. So now we're developing a whole new narrative on how does this outcome of the forum, which was the Medellin Framework for Action on Data for Sustainable Development, really a framework that allows us to have a common agenda. So building from the SDGs, moving to a data-centered agenda, and focusing what's really important and how does this align to an international development agenda, such as the one on the Medellin Framework for Action, which before was the Cape Town Global Action Plan for Data and Sustainable Development. I'm just sharing with you, for the sake of the session, the outcome of the high-level plenary forum, which happened during the forum, which focused on really the importance of partnerships. So really, here it's something that has been impacting and really summarizing some of the different approaches. So something that Farial mentioned, really connecting more broadly, not just working with the data, with the line ministries, but really working with the private sector, with the civil society organization, really seeking this approach of partnerships. So not services, but really partnerships in which DANE and the National Statistical Office can always benefit from the experience of other trusted partners. And really having this idea of long-term commitments, so not just project-based interventions, but something that really lasts. I'm close to finishing, so I'll wrap up quickly.
Yeah.
So also something that I wanted to share with you, because I think that it really conveys a strong message. During the forum, we had these two questions among some others. So in this, we have, what do we need to build partnerships? So in here, you see that finance, surprisingly, comes as the latter response. But what is really important is first the will that the National Statistical Office can have in this scope, but really having a strong coordination item. So not just bringing partnerships out of the blue, but really having a structure that allows partnerships to blossom. And the second question here is, so what's more costly? So making decisions without quality data and investing in data and information systems. So this whole idea of building from the international perspective and owning that and adapting to the national context, it's something that continues to be more relevant for the National Statistical Office of Colombia than in its partnerships within the National Statistical System. So here's my email. Happy to get in touch with any one of you. And back to you, Vibeke, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much also for sharing all your experiences with us, Camilo. I think you're doing a lot of really interesting work, and I liked your last point there on will and cooperation really being the key and something that many of us are struggling with, but still acknowledged as a key issue. So thanks so much again. We are officially at the end of our set time, but I would like to ask you all to stay on for 2 more speakers that I also think have really interesting materials to share with you all. And I can just apologize for us being over optimistic again on how much we wanted to pack in to share with all of you. But I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are in seeing all these great examples. So with this, I want to hand over to Tanya Popono from the National Bureau of Statistics of the Seychelles. Hi, Tanya. I see you are still muted, and I also can't see your presentation, so let me know if you're able to unmute and maybe also put on your video.
Rebecca, I see she messaged Tanya that
Okay.
she's having issues.
Okay, should we give her a little bit time and then maybe jump to Mustafa from UNDP first? What do you think, Faryal?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And then I also see question from Shahuda in chat. Camilo, if possible, if you could respond in the chat, so then we make the best use of our time.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And thanks for sharing that question, Shahuda. I think it's a good question.
Yes.
So to give Tanya some time to figure out some of the challenges with presentation, I want to hand over to a representative of one of our core partners in the data for now, the UN Development Program. And our speaker here is Mustafa Saifi, who jointly with UNSD presented and ran a workshop last year, as Faryal was mentioning, on data visualization and communication. So over to you, Mustafa, for sharing some of the highlights from that and your work in that context.
Thanks, Rebecca. Let me just share my screen. Hope you can see my screen now.
It is in process. Yes, I can.
Okay. So it's there, right? Yeah. Hey, thanks for the opportunity to speak here and nice to meet you all. So as Rebecca mentioned, I'm Mustafa and I'm working with UNDP. And in this, I'll just be sharing some of the resources for data visualization and data communication. So different tools and kind of websites and blogs that can be used for those purposes. And I'll also talk about the data visualization workshop that we did last year in collaboration with UNSD. So that was a workshop that we did for different NSOs and different colleagues in UN itself. And I think so there were around like 300 to 400 participants, and we had like five different sessions, each ranging from basics of data visualization to having workshops on like different tools that can be used, different development tools that can be used, and also like geospatial visualization. All the materials is basically online on the link in the presentation, which I think so would be shared later. And yeah, and there are videos for that which you can also look at for that whole workshop. So, and I think so we are planning to have that workshop again sometime this year. So yeah. Then I'll talk about some of the tools that we generally use for visualization. So at UNDP, we have built our own like visualization tool, which is like easy to use drag and drop open source tool, which you don't need any account or any credit card or anything to build visualizations, which you can explore more to build visualization. There are other tools which are available. These are mostly different companies and or / organizations which provide these tools. They have a free version and then they have a paid version. So free version does provide you most of the functionality, but if you want to have functionalities like not showing the credits of the website and things like those, then you need to go for paid versions. So a few of these tools are like Flourish, which is also used for building visualizations. One of the key, and all these tools are no-code tools, so you don't need to know any coding. You just need to have the data in the right format, and then you'll be able to visualize the data. So in Flourish, you can also create all the kinds of basic visualizations like bar graph, scatter plots, donuts, line charts, and things. And you can also create animated graphs. So they have a very extensive range of visualizations available to them. Data Wrapper is another such tool which focuses more on the design of the visualization. So they have like very nice looking tools out of the box, a nice looking visualization out of the box. So it's a good tool in that sense, but it has like limited amount of visualization when it compares to Flourish in that sense. Then last one is basically LawGraph, which is an open source tool. So LawGraph is completely free. You don't need to have any account or anything. It also provides you some visualization, but it has limited capacity in terms of customization. So it does provide you some basic visualization, but the amount of customization that you can do is a bit limited. So these are tools for doing simple single visualizations, like just creating a bar chart, just creating a scatter plot and things like those. But if you want to do dashboards, then we have like some tools for creating a comprehensive dashboard. So again, UNDP Viz tools you can use to create a dashboard, which can be, which is again open source and can be used to create a comprehensive dashboard with filters and interactivity and things like those. The thing is that you need to go through the documentation for this because we don't have a very drag and drop kind of an interface for this, but it's a very simple documentation which again is linked here, which you can read through and create a dashboard itself. Then there are two other tools that can be used. One is Tableau, another one is Power BI. So Tableau has two versions. One is public and one is commercial. Public one is available for free for anyone to use, but anything that you do would be public. It's not protected by a password or anything. It will be published online and on their own website, and it has some limited amount of features. But then you can opt for the paid version also. And Power BI is a Microsoft tool. So if you have a Microsoft account, then you Microsoft Office 365 account, then most probably you have access to Power BI. If you don't, then you will have to get access to Power BI. So they also have a limited version, a free version available, and it can connect to like variety of different data sources and like databases and things like those. So these are three like dashboarding tools. Then there are some tools for choosing colors on the graphs and charts. So colors are very important because they are a key feature of the graph. And if you don't choose the colors properly, it can cause like readability issues or understanding issues. So these are three tools that can be used for choosing colors. And it also helps you in choosing colors which are like accessible. So they are like colorblind safe, all things like those. So these are some tools for those. And lastly, we have some resources. So these resources are basically just things like blogs or websites which can help you up your visualization game. So they will help you in like choosing the right charts for the right data for the right communication, and also some sort of data visualization do's and don'ts, that what you should do while creating a visualizations and what you should not do while creating a visualization. So yeah, like this whole package would help you like create your own visualizations, and hopefully would guide you in your data visualization journey. I think so. That's about it from my side. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. So yeah, back to you, Vivek.
Thanks so much for sharing these tools and guidance materials, Mustafa. And for those of you who want to learn more, I think we also have a lot of these materials published from the workshop that happened in the fall and winter. Tanya, are you able to join us now and share your screen?
Hi, hello. Sorry for the hiccup. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And I can see you now too.
Share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tanya from National Bureau of Statistics, Seychelles, currently working as a senior statistician in social statistics. So today I'll be going through the use of data visualization. So first of all, about the office. So just to give context, Seychelles is a very small country. It's a group of islands of estimated around 120,000 population. So the NBS is the main producer of official statistics in Seychelles, and we operate under the Statistics Act 2010. Currently, we have 37 employees, and the bureau is divided into 3 statistical divisions: economic, social, and data acquisition. So my presentation, I'll be taking you through the NBS experience in using infographics as a source of data visualization to increase data uptake and increase the visibility of the office. So the learning outcome would be about the journey, the challenges, and solutions. So basically, through a dissemination workshop, well, the issue on our end was pointed out that we've been disseminating through bulletins only. So we publish only reports and nothing else. So we don't even have knowledge about whether users, how satisfied are they with the bulletins, things like that. But we know how many people download the bulletins. So this is what we've been doing mainly so far. So during a dissemination workshop that we had with the UNSD team and UNECA, so it was pointed out some issues with our publications in terms of also data visualization. For instance, we've been using things like 3D bar charts, so which were advised not to do so. So from this journey, what we've learned is the advantage of data visualization. So I will take you through some things we've done. So we've realized how easily the data can speak to the users, easily understandable. For instance, we have this infographics. This one actually went viral, where many people were talking about it on social media. They've made use of it in the presentations. So basically, this table here is what we presented in our census report. So since in the dissemination workshop, we were challenged to take on start disseminating through infographics, through the visualizations. So this is the visualization the team worked on. So the journey to start working on infographics was through the workshop, since the issue was we were disseminating through reports only. So we were challenged, because the period the workshop we were challenged to celebrate the African Statistics Day 2024. So what we did during that workshop, NBS, we brainstormed on what activities we can do. So given the timeline, we propose that we can produce infographics throughout the week, so for 5 days. So there was a task team that was formed. Just to give context, at the Bureau, we currently do not have any current communications officer. So there was a task team that was formed. So with the help of the management, the team brainstormed for topics for each day to be produced. So the team was made up of mainly the new recruits. So the challenges, like I've mentioned, we do not currently have a communications officer, and infographics is something that is new to us. So the solution was the task team, in which they have very great ideas, thinking outside the box, like trying to break down data in ways that you can easily grasp the message. So since some of us had the foundation in Canva, so we built on each other's knowledge within the task team. And we also did some research on what other statistical offices has been doing. Our main inspiration would be Australian Bureau of Statistics and Statistics Canada. So we always look up to them. And from this journey, the lessons learned, I would say the great importance of teamwork. I cannot stress the importance of teamwork, because sometimes you can see a table and you don't necessarily know how to make it relatable or that a user can easily grasp it. So as a team, we brainstorm with each other. We think of titles, of ways we can put it out there that it can be very interesting to others. And we are very open to each other's ideas. So this allows people to be creative, not feeling judged by any other. And we provide guidance to one another. So since they are mainly new recruits, so I am the team leader along with the management. So we provide guidance to each other. We get feedback and we try to improve it. From the very first 2 days when we started publishing it, we got very positive feedback, which gave us like a sense of appreciation to continue. We also have some of the key outcomes. We had a multiplicative effect. So since we were publishing through bulletins only, we were not, our social media accounts were kind of dormant. So we were putting our infographics out there to the public. So this increased visibility, the great appreciation by the public. For instance, we got emails like they appreciate the work. We hope to get it monthly. Others saying this is a good one, so they are commenting on the infographics. And this one was about the children. So this is from someone from a National Council for Children. They say they would like to see more statistics about children. So once you put the data in a visually appealing way to users out there, so this entices the interest to them. Also, it has increased data uptake, like I've mentioned. People were talking about some of the results, inquiring, for instance, on Instagram, someone had a question on the female-headed household in Seychelles, like, what's the issue? And people were commenting. So it was really like encouraging seeing people making use of it. And then more diverse audience, so away from just the website. So the relevance from this experience, we are now seeing data visualization through infographics, is that it easily helps decision makers as it's easy for them to grasp the message being conveyed. For instance, I've shown the infographics versus the table. From the maps, you can easily get the information that is being conveyed. So for practical recommendations, based on our experience, we would recommend that you explore your data before producing your infographics so that you can really get a story to tell. Once you know your country's context and you can relate your figures to it, it will make it more relevant to the audience. For instance, since we've been observing, one of our infographics was the increase of registered motor vehicles. Since the context, we've been seeing the increase in traffic in the capital. So we've tailored our infographics to things that we see out there so that people can relate it in terms of numbers. Also, I would stress on the support of the management and teamwork. So once you have your team, great support is really needed along the way, support and guidance. So currently our plan is to, well, we have worked on infographics for Q1 2025. So based on the UN International Days, we have looked at all the days. We have highlighted the ones that is related to the local context, for instance, International Wetland Day, things like that. So now we have divided the work amongst the task team for us to start working on things, and then other local days. And also we plan on, instead of just putting our reports and bulletin out there on the website only, so we now plan to tell a story from the bulletin and reports using infographics. For instance, we've just published our population projection for 2024-2064. So now the plan is to tell a story in summary for someone who's not really going to go through all these pages in the report. So in summary, this has really increased the visibility for NBS. It has stressed the importance of statistics. And then through visualization, it has brought a positive change where people has been requesting it on a more and regular basis. So once you have the relevance of data visualization is that I've mentioned, it creates the awareness. So once people, they start knowing what you have, what are your statistical products, this increases the engagement between you and the users out there. We've already having people recently calling us asking when are we going to produce more infographics, because they are requesting for more information, they want to know more. So this really helps. So now for us, the provoking question would be like how to sustain the momentum that we have gained recently, like how to keep it interesting. Maybe other countries can share their experience. To end, first of all, I would like to thank Rebecca, Charlotte from UNSD, Angela from UNECA, in which the workshop, they really shared the enthusiasm with us, like start thinking of producing things other than just the report, putting the results out there in a more visually appealing way. And also for the management, for their continuous support, and for the dedicated task team for their hard work. So this is the other team, including myself, receiving our certificate of appreciation during the end of year event. So if you have any follow-up questions, these are the emails that you can reach out to. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tanya. And it's been really fun to follow your journey from when we worked together in November and see how much you've done in just 2 months, not only for the Africa Statistics Day, but also seeing all your Christmas infographics. It's been quite engaging. And I'm sorry that we won't have a lot of time really to hear from other countries on how they work on this. But I think what we'll continue trying to do through the Data for Now initiative and other work of UNSD is to try and continue bringing you together, and maybe during the statistical commission, you will all have a chance to engage, those of you who are traveling, but we'll also see if we can do some more virtual informal exchanges that have less presentations and more room for exchange and discussion. I don't see a lot of questions in the chat, and since we are running substantially over, I think I will just very briefly close our meeting for today. I'll quickly share just to remind you all and give you an opportunity to also contact us before the next session, which is happening a week from now. If you are interested to collaborate, we have a newsletter. Let me just quickly see. My system is also a bit slow today, it seems. Are you able to now see it full screen? Can you confirm, Faryal?
Yes.
Or are you sharing? You are sharing. Okay, so you beat me to it. Yes, great. So we we're looking forward to seeing many of you again in a week, where we, as Stefan was saying, also will focus on using innovative data sources, methods, and tools. So the focus will be a little bit different, moving from the engagement side and the collaboration more to the technical solutions. And we have some really exciting presentations and materials to share in that session too. And then in 2 weeks, the focus will be more on IT architecture and the data ecosystem in that context. I think there is also the slide on interest to collaborate. If you want to check more on what we do, subscribe to our newsletter, visit our website for more resources. And if you're interested in your country receiving support, if your country currently isn't, you can contact Faryal on the email address here. And we will keep fundraising and see what possibilities we have. It's always easier for us to fundraise when we have concrete requests. So with this, I want to thank you all for staying with us. I'm really appreciative of all of you who's staying over time. So many of you have joined us, and thank you for that. Thanks especially to all of you who spoke and shared your experiences with us. I think this is really enriching to all of us to see all the great work that is going on and can help continuing great work in other countries. I also, as Stefan was doing in the opening, want to thank the team in UNSD that has been behind this and put all of this together. And a special thanks to Samira, who has been following up very actively and helped us in taking the lead in engaging with everyone and preparing everything for this workshop and inspiration session. So with that, thanks all again, and see you next week. And in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us. Have a good evening, a good afternoon, wherever you are, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much.